Hello and welcome to this special discussion, Clamour for ILP. After Manipur, it's Meghalaya. The Conrad Sangma-led government in the state has given a go-ahead to an ILP resolution in the State Assembly urging the centre to allow the state to implement the inner line permit system in the state. With this, Meghalaya may soon join the likes of Arunachal, Nagaland and Mizoram, where ILP is already in place. Not only this, the move by the Meghalaya government is also once again leading to a growing clamour for ILP, a single ILP across the region. In fact, President of Assam Public Works Abhijit Sharma called on Meghalaya Chief Minister Conrad Sangma today to urge him to demand a single ILP for the entire region once he meets Union Home Minister Amit Shah after Christmas. However, the question we are asking today is that is ILP the perfect solution for influx, or does it come with a rider and its own complexities? Will the booming tourism industry in Meghalaya suffer, at least in the short term, due to implementation of the ILP? Meghalaya again is a state that acts as a transit route to other states like Tripura, Mizoram and even a part of Assam. How will the government manage the routes and national highways? Would the commuters also need to apply for ILP, or what would be the system in place? A lot of complexities here. But before we go ahead with the discussion, let's bring to our viewers some visuals that you see on your screens are from Shillong. Once the assembly gave the ILP a go-ahead, these are celebratory visuals by members of certain groups who have been demanding the ILP for long now. The ILP is not a fresh demand in Meghalaya. It's over 2 decades and a half, nearly 3-decade-old demand. And this was not the biggest ILP agitation that we had seen in the recent years. But nevertheless, perhaps the situation was right. The opportunity was right, and that's why the Meghalaya government decided to go ahead and give it a go-ahead. Let's listen in to some reactions from Meghalaya before we get going.
It's a process, and obviously this is a very important part of the process. As we all had mentioned in the House, all the different members across political parties have reiterated in the floor of the House that we need to find measures to ensure that the indigenous people are protected and safeguarded. So I think this is one very important step towards that. And of course, with this resolution coming out from the Assembly, it really carries a lot of weight. And of course, we will now move with the Government of India and try to urge the Government of India with this resolution to implement, or I should say to include the state of Meghalaya in the preamble of the Bengal Eastern Frontier Act 1873. And suggestions have come in the House, positive suggestions have come, that we do have a lot of mechanisms which are in place. And as I've mentioned in my reply towards the end, that the government of Meghalaya has in fact taken a lot of steps to implement the Meghalaya Resident Safety and Security Act, which includes the implementation of the different task forces, which also includes the the different entry exit points that have been identified. Construction work in some of them have already started. Land development has been done. So I think a lot of steps and a lot of movement has been done, but of course more needs to be done. So now we would work and go a step forward and try to get different stakeholders on board and try to find out how existing laws and existing rules which are there could then can be used to ensure that the objective of ensuring that some kind of a safeguard is there for our local people and indigenous people will also be explored.
Beauty is that there was unanimity, and everybody stood together, and definitely everybody articulated appropriately as to why it is necessary today, and how the vulnerability part has to be looked at with more seriousness, and how even after this we have tried to draw the attention of everyone, the August House, that there will be no space, no room for complacency.
Agitations will not stop. Yes, Christmas, the festive season is coming, so we will try to put the agitations aside. Okay, it will be a lukewarm agitation, and we should also remember that we might get ILP, but we will still oppose a citizenship amendment bill in the entire, not only in the state, but in the entire Northeast region that includes Assam and Tripura.
It's not victory yet. ILP has not been implemented in the state yet, but yes, it's one step ahead toward the victory. And we congratulate all the 60 MLA, this CM, Deputy CM, leader of opposition, and each and everyone who make this possible, who make this a reality. We congratulate to all the people of the state in Meghalaya who have been agitating ILP since a very, very, very long time. And without their sacrifice, this will not be happening. So we congratulate everybody, we congratulate all the legislators, we congratulate everyone who involved indirectly or directly, and without their support and without their help, this may not be happening.
So clearly the pressure groups in Meghalaya are happy over the development. ILP has been a long pending demand. The political parties are unanimous about it. But has the public been taken into confidence? There's the big question. I'm being joined from Shillong by editor of the Shillong Times, Patricia Mukim. Patricia Mukim, thank you for talking to Northeast Live. My first question to you is that, do you think the government did not want to take any chances in the wake of the existing situation, and hence this decision to go ahead with a special session wherein it has given a go-ahead to the ILP? Patricia Mukim.
Well, I think they were very afraid of this situation because there was so much of pressure from outside the Assembly House. But, you know, this is not the way you take decisions that have long-term repercussions. Meghalaya, as I've always said, is a transit state. From here, people go to Kachar, and then they go to Silchar, and then they go to Mizoram and to Tripura.
Yes.
So how will those who have to travel, just traverse through Meghalaya, what sort of ILP will they have to apply for? Or will they have to apply for any ILP at all? And then Meghalaya has a substantial chunk of non-tribal population, most of whom are today working, studying outside. And they come back home from time to time. Will
Absolutely.
they also have to have an ILP? I mean, is this not discrimination of the highest order when you're a genuine citizen of Meghalaya, you're a permanent resident here? For yourself including, if you have to come to Shillong, would you need an ILP? So these are very, very serious considerations which should have been taken into account by people who represent us. They represent 30 lakh Meghalayans, not just a few people who are out on the streets. So what happens to our voices then? I mean, what happens to our concerns? There are 1.5 lakh people dependent on the tourism industry today. And there are about 2,000 young people who are studying tourism management. It's not as if people will not come here, but I'm telling you that the numbers will dip because there's this psychological burden of why apply for an ILP to go to your own part of the country. And then if you look at the employment ratio in Nagaland, Mizoram, Arunachal Pradesh, it's very, very low. And that's because tourism hasn't picked up there,
there are a lot
except
of
for those
concerns.
festivals.
Clearly, there are a lot of concerns. I'm being joined from Shillong over the phone by Dr. Prasenjit Biswas, a professor from Nehru University. Dr. Biswas, do you think, well, the government was in a hurry, so to say, the state government was in a hurry to pass a resolution on the ILP, given the current situation, the current conditions, and a lot of factors, and probably the version of the public, the account of the public has not really been taken into consideration? Or do you think the majority in Meghalaya do support it and there is no question of the government going wrong on this? Dr. Biswas.
Yeah, there are pros and cons about ILP. I have come across that United Puja Committee, Central Puja Committee, which is a conglomerate body of various puja organizations, have had a threadbare discussion, and they have come to the idea that ILP would be good to protect Meghalaya from any possible influx of the foreigners if they attempt to come in Meghalaya in an illegal manner. So therefore, there is an opinion that highlights this concern about influx and which thinks that ILP could be one way of stalling any possible influx because influx will be meant for keeping a check, keeping some kind of surveillance on who is coming and who is going. But the cons part of it, where fine rules have to be framed for executing ILP, in that a lot of wisdom needs to be exercised. One of the major issue is there are people who have domiciled into Meghalaya, but who are not permanent residents of Meghalaya. There are many central government employees. There are business people. There are people who come for daily economic activity. There are also other categories of people who come from a variety of legitimate purposes. If all of them have to come through a process of checking, come through a process of restrictive entry into Meghalaya, whereby the exit also will be monitored and regulated, that may cause a kind of a damper for the economy as such.
Absolutely.
Because if we look at the economy of Meghalaya, it's largely dependent on the goods and services that are coming from outside, instead of goods and services that are produced from within. Therefore, given this externality of the economy, ILP has to be moderated in a manner that it doesn't have deleterious economic impact on the people and society of Meghalaya.
Do you think it's also time for the government to come clear on, there's more clarity is required as far as the non-tribal residents of the state is concerned, who have been there for decades now, as to whether they will also have to apply for ILP despite, say, being in the state since the 1950s? Should the government also come clear and make it absolutely clear to those residents?
Yes, the government has to make it very clear, because there are a lot of non-tribal people. Many of them are permanent residents. Many of them are semi-permanent residents. So government has to categorize. For permanent residents, I think ILP norms should be as same as for the tribal population of the state. Therefore, for the semi-permanent residents, also those who are here for certain legitimate purposes, they also should not have much of a trouble in obtaining permission of entry and exit. So a floating population which comes on an everyday basis, and also the economic purposes which bring them here, have to be taken into account in determining a set of rules. The rules that will not unnecessarily prohibit and restrict the entry and exit of these people, because economy depends on these people. At the same time, the concerns of the local population in terms of outsiders coming and settling in also needs to be addressed in a positive way. So therefore, it has to be balanced, keeping in mind both the sides of the coin. And if that could be balanced legally by creating a set of very intelligent rules, then ILP in Meghalaya would be slightly different than ILP as in Nagaland or as in Arunachal Pradesh. It could be a better ILP. Depends on what kind of rules are going to be placed and what kind of wisdom is going to be used.
Will that happen? Only time will tell. Thank you so much, Professor Prasenjit Biswas, for joining us from Shillong over the phone. I also have in the studios a senior journalist, Pramod Tiwari. Welcome, Mr. Tiwari, to Northeast Live. There's a growing clamour now. First, it was Manipur. The centre extended ILP to Manipur just before the Citizenship Amendment Bill was passed in the Parliament. And following that, the demand for implementation of ILP also rose in other states, especially Meghalaya, where this demand has been going on for 3 decades. Yesterday, the Meghalaya Assembly unanimously passed a resolution to give the ILP a go-ahead. And with this, again, the voices are rising, especially in Assam. A group from Assam has already approached Mr. Conrad Sangma, the Chief Minister of Meghalaya, to raise the issue of one ILP for entire Northeast when he meets Amit Shah, Union Home Minister, after Christmas. So, do you think we are staring at a situation where, apart from opposing the CAA, the demand for ILP will now totally become pan-Northeast, especially as far as Assam is concerned? Now we are down with Arunachal, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Meghalaya. Only the states left are probably Tripura, Assam, the major states left. Do you think now, even in Assam, the demand for ILP will catch up? And where is it heading?
Now, some groups in Assam are also demanding ILP to be implemented here, but I don't think in Assam there will be a big demand for ILP. And so far as Meghalaya is concerned, the editor of Shillong Times raised a few very valid questions. Number one, that it will badly adversely affect the tourism industry of the state, number one. Number two, she told that Meghalaya is a transit state. People going to Tripura or you say the Barak Valley of Assam have to cross over Meghalaya if they go by road. So, these are two valid questions, but here one thing is very clear that in northeast the identity issue is the most important issue for the people here. The economic concerns, many times you see that they do not take into consideration economic aspects when their identity issues are raised.
Absolutely, that's the point. Patricia Mukim, the editor of the Shillong Times, has highlighted that if you compare states like Arunachal and Nagaland, Meghalaya in a way has moved ahead because there was nothing like a system called ILP in place. The employment graph has risen if you compare to those states. Also, if you personally visit Arunachal, Arunachal is perhaps one of the most beautiful states in the region, in the shadow of the eastern Himalayas. But Meghalaya, Cherrapunji, for instance, Sora, for instance, has a much bigger footfall than other places in Arunachal. Is ILP playing a role in that? Do you think that's the catch? That Meghalaya has been able to cash in tourism like perhaps no other state in the region, of course, Assam apart.
No, I do not think that ILP is the reason, because there was no infrastructure, road infrastructure, especially in Arunachal Pradesh. That is why Arunachal Pradesh could not attract that much tourist in comparison to Meghalaya, but it is sure that ILP will definitely have an impact on the tourism industry of Meghalaya.
Definitely. If I can on this note, if I can go back to Patricia Mukim, well, so clearly the tourism industry could suffer, at least for the time being, if the ILP is passed. Is that what you think? The tourism industry in Meghalaya also probably should speak up, if at all it is a concern. What is the view?
They are worried, and I don't know why they're not speaking up. I don't know if they even have a platform, you know, all the tour operators and the hotel owners. I can't understand why they are not speaking up. I don't know if they've made representations to the government. We haven't seen any. But if you don't speak up, you lose out. This is a democracy, you know. And right now it looks like it's become a mobocracy, where the voice of the mob carries louder than the voice of reasoned citizens.
Democracy becoming a mobocracy, Pramod
yeah.
Tiwari. Do you think that is the concern? Has, you know, this, let me tell you, this ILP agitation in Meghalaya is not new. It's a decades old agitation. In fact, back in 2012, 2013, the agitation has been much worse and much bigger, should I say, much bigger than what we have witnessed this time. But even then, the government of the time did not budge.
But in
but because probably of the situation in entire region over the passing of CAB, which is now an act, Citizenship Amendment Act, do you think that added pressure to the Conrad Sangma led government, which did not want to take any chance and hence decided to, some are saying, quote unquote, populist card?
Two things are there. Number one, you know, on November 1, Meghalaya Assembly passed Meghalaya Resident Safety and Security Act 2016 with some amendments and sent it to Governor for his assent. But till today, Governor does not give his assent to the act.
Yes.
This act was passed in haste because of the reason that NRC final list of Assam has come out, and people of Meghalaya thought that those who left out of NRC in Assam will find their way into Meghalaya, number one. Number two, the CA, Citizenship Amendment Act. Now again the people are thinking that a lot of people will come over to Meghalaya and they will get benefit of this act and have their citizenship. In spite of the fact that Meghalaya is a Schedule 6 state, but the organizations there, especially the organization like COMSO, Confederation of Meghalaya Social Organizations, they are of the view that Schedule 6 does not deter the infiltrators from entering their state. Schedule 6 only looks after their traditions, their customs, their land and other properties. So, there was a demand for ILP in Meghalaya for decades, and now these two pressures has made the government of Meghalaya to pass it in their assembly.
So basically, do you think, you know, the government the government of the day, especially in Meghalaya, what you have seen, and probably in some other states also. In Manipur, we have seen N. Biren Singh had to rush to Delhi at least 3 to 4 times, once for the Naga issue, then again for the cap. The government of the day in these northeastern states, they do not really want to take on some groups, okay, who of course are opposing the citizenship amendment bill. Now the car, there is nothing wrong with that, that's a democratic movement. But in something like ILP, where it is not tried and tested, let me tell you, say the states like Arunachal, Nagaland, Mizoram, they have ILP in place, but does that mean that those states are foolproof from influx? Not at all. They have their own concerns. So in these, why take a chance? Why? In fact, just a month ago, Chief Minister Conrad Sangma himself was saying that ILP is one of the mechanisms to tackle influx, but not the only one. We have our own mechanism. Don't you think again in a haste they have made a turn, sort of U-turn on that, the CM himself, who was towing a different line altogether just a month back? And again, do you think it is the situation, entire situation in the region that has prompted him to do so?
Look, there is a very thin line between the mobocracy and the democratic movements. So, the mobocracy, you see, after passing of this CAA, the mobocracy part of democracy has made the government of Manipur and the government of the Meghalaya to rush for ILP, because
no, again, we cannot term all movements. We again cannot term all movements as mobocracy. Let's be very clear about that.
I am not telling that all the movements are
democratic, peaceful movements in the region.
I have already told you that there is a very thin line between the democratic movements and the mobocracy. But so far as the identity issue is concerned in the northeastern states, the people are not willing to hear anything. That's why under the pressure, the government of Manipur rushed to the Home Minister and got ILP for their state, and same is the situation with Meghalaya also.
Well, on the same line, if I can go back to Patricia Mukim once again. Patricia Mukim, do you think again the Conrad Sangma-led government has hurried on with the ILP? They really did not want to take any sort of chance whatsoever, given the current situation in the northeast.
Yeah, see, the fight here is against the Citizenship Amendment Act.
Absolutely.
We don't want that act here for obvious reasons. We don't want to upset a demographic profile the way Tripura has become. So let's fight to exempt us completely from that by bringing even that area 10 into 10 square kilometers of land, which is called the European ward, under the ambit of the 6th schedule. That would have exempted us completely. Why bring in a very retrograde instrument, an 1873 archaic instrument of a colonial power today in 2019?
Pramod Tihari, archaic instrument of a colonial power, these are very strong words. We have to understand that the ILP was not something that was meant to be a protective measure for the people of the northeast. It was in fact completely different. The ILP, when it was brought by the British, it was brought with the intention that whoever, the British officer who comes to the northeast, he should be protected.
To protect their property, they bought the Bengal Eastern Frontier Act in 1873.
So that they can be tracked, which are their movements, so they know that the official is there. In a way, if we see, it could also be seen as, you know, just anti of what it means, what all it has come to mean today. Okay, under these circumstances, especially when there is a threat to the booming tourism industry, do you think when it comes to influx and identity, the demand is very genuine and the people, they have got it today? It has been their rightful demand for decades, and let's not question it at all. Can this be one view? Because they're having a lot of contrasting views coming on this.
Yeah. As the editor of Shillong Time told, that only the European ward of Shillong was exempted from Schedule 6. So the demand should be that that ward also should come under the purview of Schedule 6. But the people went 2, 3, 4 steps ahead and they demanded ILP for the region. But one more thing is that when CA came into existence as a law, how the people of northeast can save their identity, because they are suffering from identity crisis, they are suffering from a sort of population war from across the border and from the different states of the country. So, there is no other mechanism. ILP is of course a colonial law, there is no doubt about that, but our land law is also colonial law with some amendments and with some additions, and we are following that act. So,
do you think Union Home Minister Amit Shah has clearly told the Meghalaya Chief Minister that as far as the CAA is concerned, we'll have a detailed discussion come after Christmas? Could it mean that Conrad Sangma has got a hint from the centre
exactly,
that they can go ahead to the ILP and the centre will give a nod?
He got a hint, and this is the Christmas gift, as they told to the people of Meghalaya.
So you think ILP is the Christmas gift that was all talked about, because clearly we heard Union Home Minister Amit Shah saying that he has invited the Meghalaya Chief Minister to come after Christmas, and they will discuss it in detail. So do you think it's just a mere formality and the centre will go ahead and give its nod as far as ILP in Meghalaya is concerned?
As on today, it looks like that, because without the consent from because Meghalaya government cannot implement Bengal Eastern Frontier Act 1873. It is centre. So, they passed the act, they passed the resolution, unanimous resolution in their assembly. Now, after Christmas he will go to our Home Minister, and then I think they will settle for ILP in Meghalaya.
Well, this discussion will go on whether how much good the ILP will bring, but clearly there will be definitely a major chunk of people in Meghalaya who would be happy that finally the state cabinet, the state assembly has given a nod to this system. What could be the issues that arise, that we cannot speculate right now. It has to come in force and then we can say, but we'll have to wait till post-Christmas to see how the centre reacts to that. Till then, we are free to have our own imaginations. But well, it's almost the entire of Northeast now under ILP except for Assam and Tripura. It will be very interesting to see how now the discourse shapes up in the state of Assam. That's a wrap of this special show. Stay tuned to Northeast Live.